Good evening and welcome to the 5th induction ceremony of the University of Pikeville Educators Hall of Fame. This evening we will honor 10 new members of the Hall of Fame who have made significant contributions to education. This event is especially significant this year as we celebrate the 125th anniversary of the founding of the University of Pikeville. This is an amazing achievement for a liberal arts college nestled in the mountains of eastern Kentucky. Since 1889, we have undergone many transformations, from an elementary and secondary school to a junior college to a 4-year liberal arts college. We continue to expand. Our school has developed drastically from these beginning days. Growing from the few courses of study that were offered here at the turn of the century, UPike now offers 24 baccalaureate degrees, 3 associate degree programs, and graduate and professional education. For the school and its alumni, we can look back at a history of fulfilling educational needs and see that this same need shapes our future. Tonight we recognize outstanding men and women who have excelled in education and who have encouraged others to contribute to the economic development and the quality of life in Central Appalachia. It is essential that we acknowledge the contributions and gifts of these inductees for many reasons. The freedom to learn lies at the heart of all great civilizations. Undeniably, education is the shield that arms our citizens against economic impoverishment. The University of Pikeville Educators Hall of Fame was established to honor leaders in the field of education and those who have been philanthropists and advocates for education. Our efforts are intended to also serve as an inspiration for the next generation of teachers and leaders. Induction into the Hall of Fame acknowledges that these men and women have made distinguished contributions to the field of education. These innovative leaders have believed passionately in the evolutionary power of education. All have provided exemplary service and have left lasting impressions on the students, institutions, and organizations they have served. Each of these inductees will be recognized individually later in our program. At this time, I would like to recognize 4 former presidents of the University of Pikeville who are in attendance this evening. On the stage is Dr. Jackson Hall, who will be introduced shortly. Dr. Hall. Also in the audience is Bill Owens, William H. Owens. And Hal Smith. Governor Paul Patton. We thank these individuals for the service they have given to this institution. We also have in attendance tonight several members of our Board of Trustees. Would you stand, please, and be recognized? We are also grateful for your service. And in addition to that, we have a former trustee, Doug Hinkle, and his wife, Judith, who are inductees. They're members of the Hall of Fame from a couple of years ago, and Betty Porter was inducted into the Hall of Fame last year. Let's recognize them as well. On our front row, we have 2 former First Ladies, Kathy Hall and Judy Patton. And the current First Lady of the University of Pikeville, Tina Hurley. Dr. James Hurley, President of the University of Pikeville, will now come to the podium to offer remarks.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. This is selfishly one of my most favorite events. Of course, this week we have like 2,000 events. Lucy tried to book as many events as possible in one week, but this is special. I consider myself to be an educator, And my background obviously is the P12, and so many of these folks on the stage share that similar background. And as we face this trying economy, if you will, of East Kentucky, the declining coal industry, et cetera, I think we all recognize the importance of education. And education has to be collective. It has to start in the pre-K level all the way, and we used to have a term P16, and now that term's extended to P20. And I challenge people often to think about a P24 approach, certainly at the University of Pikeville, as we continue to add professional education. When you think about a student that starts at the kindergarten level, if he or she is going to become a doctor or an optometrist at the University of Pikeville, they're going to be in school for 24 to 27 years to garner the necessary degrees to become a practitioner. And so we really have to start thinking P24 and beyond. And I know all of these folks on this stage either thought like that, they still think like that, and they support education. They've always supported the University of Pikeville, like so many of you in this audience. This institution, and I'll say this, and I know my chairman's going to say this as well, it is the single most important entity in Appalachia. And it's going to become more important as we move forward in this new knowledge-based economy. And so I bring greetings from our 2,500 students. We have students from 45 states and 23 countries in our body today. We have 14,000 alum, and those alumni are across the world, making a difference in different parts of not only the United States, not only in this region, but in the world. And if you think about the young people from those 23 countries that make up nearly 60 of our students, as we send them out and back to their native lands and their native homes, they're going to make a difference, but they're going to carry that U-Pike way. And as our institution has evolved from the Pikeville Collegiate Institute of 1889, founded on September 16th, to today, that mission has not changed. We have a mission of service, and we have a mission of making a difference every single day. And that's what educators do. They make a difference every single day. So thank you for being here. I know you're here in support of the individuals that are here, but you're here supporting the institution as well, and I deeply appreciate that. We're thankful. And to the recipients, thank you for your service, your many years of service. Some of these folks on this stage have spent 50 plus years in the field of education, and that's remarkable to think about. And collectively, I don't even want to do the math. I'm sure Representative Combs, she's probably already jotting down the math of how many years in totality that the experience on this stage has brought to the young people and to people alike across not only this region, but across the United States and across the world. So thank you, each of you, for making a difference and remaining committed to education. And in a lot of fields, people can leave education, and a lot of talent is recruited away from education into the private sector because of money. You can make more money, but educators don't go into education for the money, and they don't stay in education for the money. They stay in education because they have a love and a passion for young people and a love and a passion to make a difference. And that's what each person on this stage has exemplified. President Hall, it's so good to have you back. To think about the academic programs that you and all of these other presidents enhanced and developed and created is truly remarkable. So I stand here today because of all of the collective work that you gentlemen and your team did for so many years. So thank you so much, and congratulations. God bless.
Good evening. My name is Tom Hess, and I am the Vice President for Academic Affairs, and I am also the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. And it is my great pleasure to recognize two of our current faculty. This is a new for us in doing it with regard to this ceremony, but I cannot think of a better place to recognize distinguished educators than at this ceremony that we're going to recognize the distinguished we're recognizing educators going into the Hall of Fame. I'm here to recognize two of our new distinguished professors. This is the highest honor that can be bestowed upon a professor at the University of Pikeville in terms of a current faculty member. This is an appointment, and it is recognized with it is not given lightly, is what I really should say. And the two people we are recognizing tonight are certainly deserving. The first is we're going to recognize the Berlin Coleman Distinguished Professor of Business. This was created in honor of Berlin Coleman approximately, I guess it was about 10 years ago. And the distinction has been held by only two people in that time. Dr. Howard Roberts held it before he became the Dean of the Coleman College of Business, and Dr. Kasuth Mitchell. Tonight we recognize the third person to hold this position, and that is Dr. Pamela Gillum. Pam has been around for a while. I always get it wrong, and she always corrects me. Okay, Pam's been here 37 years. Yeah, she's nodding. Yes, I finally have learned. Pam has done a little bit of everything on this campus. She came here as an instructor and has done, as it indicates in the program, just about everything on campus. She even was chair of the business program for a short while. And her emphasis and her working with students over all those years has never stopped. Dr. Hurley alluded to how important it is and how much of a difference the institution makes. It's because of the work of people like Dr. Gillum. Dr. Gillum, would you please come up?
I haven't been here quite 125 years, but I have been here through all four of the past presidents that we recognized tonight and on Tuesday. It's been my privilege to serve under them, and of course one of the things that is just the most awesome aspect of my job is being able to work with our wonderful students. And I'm glad to be able to continue to do that, hopefully not another 37 years, but for a while. Thank you.
Our second recognition tonight is an inaugural distinguished professor, and that is the Davenport Distinguished Professor. The Davenport was created in memory of Marshall Davenport, and Mr. Davenport was a graduate of, I guess then it would have been it was Pikeville College back then, but it was the junior college, went on to law school, and there's some items in there, and came back after the Second World War and became a gentleman farmer in Pulaski County. And the award was given to recognize a person, a faculty member in the social sciences. And tonight we recognize Dr. Nancy Cade as the Davenport Distinguished Professor of History and Political Science. Now, Nancy's another one that has done a little bit of everything on this campus. Not as long as Pam, okay, but has certainly been involved. And I can safely say I've known both of them for going on, well, now for 18 years. And the contributions are outstanding. And so with that, I'm going to just say, Nancy, please join me and accept the Davenport Distinguished Professor of History and Political Science.
Don't take my speech. I knew I'd be a little nervous, so I wrote some notes. I'm very humbled and I'm very honored to be the first Davenport Distinguished Professor in History and Political Science. I was lucky to have discovered a passion for history and political science and teaching at a very early age. And I've been even luckier to be allowed to exercise that passion for almost 30 years at the University of Pikeville. It's a great privilege to be a member of a faculty who are as passionate about their subjects they teach and are passionate about the art of teaching. It's an even greater privilege to be able to help students discover their passions. My colleagues and my students have made me a better teacher and a better person. And for that, I am forever in their debt. I would like to thank the Davenport family for creating this position. I was fascinated to read the biography of Mr. Davenport and to find some great similarities between him and my dad, of all things, and my grandfather. All three were self-made men who were involved in politics, either elective office or behind the scenes. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention cows. Mr. Davenport had cattle. My grandfather was a dairy farmer. I was struck by Mr. Davenport's service to his country in World War II. It included being a prisoner of war. One of my particular interests was studying the treatment of prisoners of war when I was in graduate school. It seems we were destined to come together. I'd also like to acknowledge my husband, John. His love and support mean everything to me. I would like to thank President Hurley. For those of you who don't know, he was my student. I'm so proud. I would like to thank Dean Hess and the Davenport family for this tremendous honor, and thank you all.
Our first inductee in this year's class is truly no stranger to the University of Pikeville family. Carol Baker graduated from Morehead State University with an English degree in 1967 and then went on to receive a master's degree in elementary education with an emphasis in special education in 1970. Later, she earned her rank 1 in special education from the University of Kentucky. Carol began her teaching career in 1967 as a classroom teacher in Montgomery County High School in Mount Sterling, Kentucky. And she stayed there until 1971 when she moved to Frenchburg to teach in the Menifee County school system. Later, she was a faculty member at Brookville Independent Schools in Ohio, and in 1975 entered higher education. She began teaching at Pikeville College as an instructor of education in 1977, where she served faithfully until 2013 and retired as a full professor. In addition to her teaching, Carol served as teacher certification officer, coordinator of clinical experiences, coordinator of student teaching, and part-time associate dean at Pikeville College. Carol has also been involved as a teacher evaluator in a pilot career program of Ladder Project, a teacher educator in the Kentucky Teacher Internship Program. She participated in the Goals 2000 program with Pike County Schools and the University of Pikeville, and served on the committee that developed Kentucky's new teacher standards. Following her retirement in 2013, Carol and her husband Fred moved to Jamestown, Kentucky. Carol Baker.
As I sat listening to the former presidents being introduced, I thought, Oh my gosh, I've spent my whole life at Pikeville College and UPike. See, I still forget. Because I worked under all of them, and it was a fantastic experience. I want to thank the members of the selection committee and to UPike for this award. Thanks also to my many mentors who helped shape my career. Thanks to my family who gave me their love and support, and to my students for allowing me to be a part of their lives. I am honored to be among those, past and present, who are members of the UPike Education Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Our next honoree is also no stranger to the University of Pikeville family. Representative Leslie Combs graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business and Accounting from Transylvania University. After working as a chief accountant with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, she came to Pikeville and served for many years as the treasurer and vice president of administrative operations at Pikeville College. Representative Combs was elected to the Kentucky House of Representatives and now chairs the Budget Review Subcommittee on Transportation, which oversees the state's multi-billion-dollar highway plan. Prior to that, she was chair of the House Tourism Development and Energy Committees, which cover two industries critical to her home region in eastern Kentucky. Representative Combs is an advocate for education and was the primary sponsor for the creation of the Cole County Scholarship Program, which has helped many students from coal-producing counties receive scholarship monies to achieve a college education. In addition, Representative Combs is very involved in civic activities. She has served as a director for the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and twice served as president of the Pike County Chamber of Commerce. She's also served on the Appalachian Regional Hospital Board, the Kentucky State Lawyers Auxiliary, site-based council with the Pikeville Independent School System, the Rotary Club of Pikeville, the Pike County Industrial Economic Development Board, the Pike County Fair Board, the Kentucky Council on Agriculture, and the Pike County Democratic Women's Club. Representative Leslie Combs.
Wow. You know, when I look at the honorees tonight and then I look out across this room, I don't know about y'all, but time has stood still as far as I'm concerned. I am 37 years. You look just like you did when I first remember. So there. You know, they've talked about the fact that we've had the previous presidents here, and I have served under three of those, Jackson Hall, William Owens, and Hal Smith. And I feel like each and every day I'm serving under our two most recent presidents, Governor Patton and Dr. Hurley, because they continue to give me to-do list each and every week to do. So I still feel that I'm serving under them. So I feel like I've served under all of them. But let me tell you something. I stood up here on this stage just about 2.5 weeks ago and exclaimed that this is home. This is home. This is my family. And for those of you all who don't know, but most of you all do, and particularly those here on the stage that have spent a career with me, know that when I married Don, he brought me to Pikeville, and this is what I started doing. And both of the children we had, I had while I was here. I raised them here at what was then Pikeville College. And I often say that my kids growing up, their lives were synonymous with whatever was going on at Pikeville College. So this is truly an honor for me, and truly, yes, education is a passion for me, as it is for many of you all, and this institution is a passion for me. So anything that I can do to promote or help this institution succeed, and let me tell you something, it is a tremendous success. And I say it everywhere I go, and I will continue to. It is a success all over the Commonwealth, and it has been known nationwide. And I'm very proud for every little part I've had in that. But this is truly a successful institution, and we're going to continue to make it greater and bigger and better for the education of all students in any capacity that we can. And any part I can be of that, I want to be of that. So thank you all very much for this honor.
Dr. Susan Compton attended Eastern Kentucky University and earned a master's degree after graduating from Pikeville College. Later, she attained additional degrees and certifications in education and eventually earned a doctorate of education from the University of Kentucky. Dr. Compton spent 14 years teaching school before moving into administrative roles when she became principal at Osborne Elementary in Floyd County. In her administrative roles, she has served in many capacities that have promoted education in Kentucky. Through her many professional honors and awards, she is most honored by being named Superintendent of the Year in 2013 by the Kentucky Educational Development Corporation. She was also named Kentucky Music Educator of the Year and has been inducted into the Academic Association Hall of Fame. Many accolades can be said about Dr. Compton, and her many professional awards recognize her commitment to Kentucky and to Eastern Kentucky. Susan Compton.
We'll get straightened out in a minute.
I just want to say a special thank you. Excuse me from having a case of laryngitis. I've traveled from New Jersey today, of course by plane, but this is a wonderful honor, and I am so humbled and honored to receive this. I've had several awards, but nothing means like this specific award because it's from the University of Pikeville. I started my first freshman year here in 1973, and because of Pikeville College, I was able to accomplish 34 years in public education in Kentucky, and I'm now a superintendent in the state of New Jersey. But truly, there were so many people that blessed me and mentored me during my years at Pikeville College and helped me go on and be very successful with other degrees. And I would be remiss without saying a special thank you in memory of Mr. Bill McLeod. Jim Andy Cottle, of course, is still in Ashland, Kentucky. And I'm also very honored that my president during my time here at Pikeville College, Dr. Jackson Hall, who I want to say a very special thank you, and also a very special colleague and friend, Dr. Howard Roberts, and another very special person who was a board member with me in one of my former school districts, who is also a music education major in his undergrad, Terry Dotson, who I'm so proud of the great work and leadership that he has done as chairman of the University of Pikeville here. And I am so proud of Dr. Hurley, and I'm so honored that we definitely have an alumnus to lead this institution. It is phenomenal what is going on here, and I feel blessed to receive this. Thank you.
As we celebrate the founding of this institution, it is also fitting that we recognize two of the founders of what is now the University of Pikeville. Dr. William Condit and Dr. James Hendrick came to Pikeville on separate missions to determine the needs of this region as part of the Presbyterian Church and the Ebenezer Presbytery. They each traveled to the region to determine what the needs were, and later traveled here together. On horseback through a very wooded area in the 1880s, the two men realized that educational needs were not met in this region. As they returned to Ashland to report to the Presbytery their findings, they quickly recognized that Pikeville, with a population of 300 people, wanted educational opportunities for the residents of this region. So in 1888, a search was determined to find the location for a school in Pikeville. 3 acres of land were purchased that faced the river, and the building was constructed and opened this week 125 years ago. September the 16th, 1889, the first classes were held in the building that we know as the Academy Building, or as some refer to as the Training School. Today, that building still provides educational opportunities for students at the University of Pikeville. As I walk through those halls every day, I think of the men and the women who served and prayed for educational opportunities for that school. The school that began as an elementary and secondary school and today has grown into a university. That couldn't have happened without lots of prayers and lots of great leadership. And tonight we honor Dr. William Condit and Dr. James Hendrick as members of the University of Pikeville Education Hall of Fame.
Well, let me say something. They talked before they got their plan. Right now.
We'll give you the microphone.
Oh, well. I'm honored to accept on behalf of Dr. Condit and Dr. Hendricks this recognition. But, you know, as we make these awards, we're recognizing more than the individual. We recognize an individual, but we honor a profession. And, you know, we honor a lot of classroom teachers. That's the heart and soul of any educational institution. But the classroom needs the administrative support of the administrators, and we recognize them. But then education needs the support of the community. It needs the support of our political leaders, and it needs the support of our business leaders, and it needs the support, in the case of this institution, of our church leaders. So by recognizing these individuals, we honor the profession. And I think that's what the University of Pikeville, as I think the guardian of education in Central Appalachia, tries to do and succeeds in doing it. So I'm honored on behalf of our founders.
Dr. Jackson O. Hall began his education in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. He received a bachelor's degree from Dartmouth College, a master's degree in education from Cornell University, and a doctorate in education at Cornell. Dr. Hall began his professional career as an assistant to the president at Cornell University. In 1975, he came to Pikeville College, where he served as president until 1985, and then continued his career in higher education at Eckerd College in St. Petersburg, Florida, and later served as vice president for institutional development. His second career was in banking in Naples, Florida, where he served with Northern Trust Bank as vice president for estates and business until 1998. Throughout his lifetime, Dr. Hall was involved in many organizations as well as community services and has received many honors. He was named to the Lawrenceville Athletic Hall of Fame in 1994, and while at Dartmouth, he was awarded 9 varsity letters and elected to the United States All-American Soccer Team. He was invited to join the Olympic team competition, but was forced to resign because of an injury. While at Pikeville College, he was selected by Eastern Kentucky's Congressman Carl Perkins to deliver testimony on higher education to the Congress, United States, in Washington. Dr. Hall contributed many unique aspects to education in Appalachia. First and foremost, he was known as a man who brought the highest level of integrity to all tasks. It has been said that the greatest academic achievements for a very troubled school were achieved during Dr. Hall's administration. He also, of course, was faced with many challenges with fundraising and a devastating flood in 1977 during his tenure as president. We welcome back to Pikeville, Dr. Jackson Hall.
It is such an honor to be here, to be back in Pikeville, to be at the university. It was such a privilege for me to be the president for 10 years. My hair turned white, and I had the most incredible challenge and wonderful experience meeting the people of Appalachia, then mostly focused on Eastern Kentucky. But it was just such a wonderful experience, and I was so proud to have this opportunity. My blessings on all of you, and my thanks to Pikeville University for its wonderful leadership in higher education. Thank you again. This didn't happen in the 99.
Bill McLeod was a beloved music professor at the University of Pikeville. Throughout his career, he influenced many young people who became professional musicians and music educators. He served as a music supervisor in Alabama. He taught in public schools in Alabama and Kentucky. He was an organist while serving in the U.S. military and served as a high school band director at Jenkins, Kentucky, and in Pike County in both elementary and high schools. He began his teaching career at the college level in 1959 and served at Morehead State University and Pikeville College. In 1979, he accepted a faculty position at Appalachian State University as an associate professor and taught music education and music theory. He served as director of the Canon Music Camp and as the liaison during summers with other music camps. Throughout his career, McLeod served in many capacities, such as Eastern Kentucky's district president, festival manager, and state student advisor. He was also president of the Kentucky Music Educators Association and served 2 terms as Southern Division MENC Collegiate Advisory Council, where he was instrumental in getting Governor Julian Carroll to declare a proclamation for Music in Our Schools Week. While in North Carolina, McLeod became the Southern Division MENC Collegiate Advisor and served in many other capacities in North Carolina until 2000. He was the program author for the textbook, The Music Connection. He loved hosting summer workshops for music teachers in Boone, North Carolina each year. In addition to his passion for teaching and music, he enjoyed traveling, gardening, and spending time with his family. Long after he left Pikeville and while he was in North Carolina, he would often return for visits and tell us that his heart never left Pikeville, although he did. Accepting for the late Bill McLeod is one of his former students, Kathy Pito.
Thank you so much. On behalf of Bill McLeod, who was my former teacher, I can still see his hands going across the keyboard as I was playing the flute. And on behalf of his family who are unable to be here this evening, and for his many students and colleagues that are here tonight, and so many of them on this stage, the man was just, as they said, the quintessential music educator, but he was a consummate educator of people and a life educator, not just a music educator. So many times he would see in one of us some potential. And what he would do is he'd sit down with us over at the den over a game of cards and have a cup of coffee, and he would say, "Have you ever thought about doing this? I think it would be a really good niche for you." And so many of us would then find out later on that that's where we ended up, because he saw the potential before we had any clue of where our lives would go and what we could do. And he was always pushing for education in every way, always making himself. He was a lifelong learner. He continued to take courses way up into his years and was just a marvelous person. One thing I can remember so vividly is as a freshman in high school, there was a Title I program that was put together, and he was the director of it. He brought it all together. Every student in Pike County and the Pikeville City Schools that wanted to be involved could be. They bussed us from all over, and at that time I think there were 10 high schools in the region. And we would go to one central location, and the entire performance, the whole summer we were working on a performance, and it was of a musical. And the first year we did Brigadoon, and the second year it was The Unsinkable Molly Brown. And he would just relish in the fact that everyone was doing their part, because the students were doing the music, the students were doing the art, the students were doing the publishing, they were doing the building of the sets, the painting of the sets. Everything that there was to be done was being done by the students. The business students, the home economics students were making the costumes. It was just a wonderful experience. And it brought us all together, and every single school ended up with a greater energy in their music programs and in their drama programs and things like that. So he was the quintessential music educator, but he was a consummate life educator. And for him, I will be making sure that his sister Betty and his nieces and nephews receive this on his behalf. Thank you so much.
As we celebrate the 125th anniversary of the University of Pikeville, Pikeville Independent School System is approaching its centennial celebration. Next year, the Pikeville Independent School System will celebrate 100 years of education in Pikeville. And it is only fitting that we honor tonight Mr. T.W. Oliver. This gentleman should be honored for many reasons. His commitment to education also changed this entire region. A native of Sturgis, Kentucky, Mr. Oliver earned a bachelor's and master's degree from the University of Chicago and a certificate in superintendency from Columbia University. After a varied career as teacher, superintendent, and a professor at Morehead State Teachers College, he came to Pikeville in 1922 in a capacity as director of summer school programs for the Kentucky Department of Education. In 1923, he was hired as the superintendent of the Pikeville and Pike County schools, and that was the only public school in this county at that time. He worked diligently to recruit highly qualified teachers and added to a curriculum which was already rigorous and challenging. In addition to his professional duties, Mr. Oliver was active in the community. He was elected by his peers to serve as president of the Eastern Kentucky Educational Association in 1938. During his 26-year tenure at Pikeville Independent School System, he oversaw the completion of 5 new buildings. He died in 1949 during the construction of the 3,000-seat gymnasium on the campus of Pikeville Independent Schools. His death was mourned by the citizens of Pikeville and Pike County and was eulogized by newspapers and educational journals. In the 1950 yearbook, The Panther, they bestowed the most fitting tribute to Mr. Oliver, which said, "For him, no task was too great and no child too small." Through the years, many fine educators have continued to follow Mr. Oliver's example. His spirit lives on through many that he inspired towards excellence. The current superintendent of Pikeville Independent School System, Jerry Green, will accept this honor on behalf of TWR.
Just on behalf of Pikeville Independent Schools, I'd like to thank the University of Pikeville and also the legacy that T.W. Oliver left to our school district. Those 26 years that he spent as a leader of our school district, it's much more about something other than his Ivy League education or those 5 buildings, or believe it or not, he actually created and established dormitories for the grand total of $15 per month. You could come for room and board and receive a high school education within our school district. His legacy lives on today for something else, though. He established a culture where academic excellence, it just wasn't celebrated, it became to be expected, both at a state level and also nationally. And it continues today within our school system. Today, we serve students from not only the community of Pikeville, but also 6 other school districts from within our region. And a huge part of that is a debt of gratitude that we owe to Mr. T.W. Oliver. Thank you on his behalf.
After graduating from Oxford High School in 1956, Paul Setzer received his Bachelor of Science degree from Pikeville College in 1961. He later earned rank 1 and master's degrees from Morehead State University. He began his career as principal of Porter Elementary School in 1971 and served there until 1974 when he moved to the Johnson Central High School and became the longest-serving principal, serving until 1991. Then he became the Director for Buildings and Grounds and Federal Programs with the Johnson County School System until 1997. During his time at Johnson Central, Mr. Setzer contributed greatly to his students' educational achievements. His compassion and support for disadvantaged children and his high standards for behavior and demand for excellence in all school activities created a lasting impression among students, staff, and parents. He had 2 rules. One was be the best student and the best person you can be. and they were focused on instilling pride in students, their families, and their school. In November 2013, sorry, I'm not that old, are you? Mr. Setzer was honored for his dedication when the newly renovated Johnson Central Gymnasium was renamed the Paul Setzer Eagle Fieldhouse. Mr. Setzer and his wife Patricia have 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters. Paul Setzer.
I feel like I've come full circle tonight when I stand here before this microphone and on this stage. I remember when I came to this college, and when it was Pikeville College many years ago. I was across the street and I was standing on the stage in the chapel building. I had a speech class. I got up to give my talk and I froze. Dean Hoover said, "Stand there till you get over it." I thought we were going to be here a long time. But I've had many memories flash before me when I found out that I'd been nominated for this award. I'm truly thankful for that. But I remember coming to this school before I actually was a student. I came here to work out with the basketball team because I had no money to go to school, and my only hope was to get a scholarship. I was able to get that scholarship, and when I came to school here, they told me to report to the gym, and Coach Renfro said, "Now you're going to be living down here in the gym with the rest of the team." They actually built rooms on the right side of that gymnasium where we spent 4 years. And I thought, how many times I walked up and down this hill in that 4 years along with the rest of my team. Quite a number. The big thing that I look back on in those years was all the classic battles we had with Georgetown College. That's when the rivalry started. I assume it's still here today. It's also 2 of my biggest disappointments. We were playing in the conference finals of the tournament. We were at Berea College at that time. And I had scored 26 points in the final game and tore up my ankle with 1 minute and 8 seconds to go. Now the reason I know this, I went back and looked at my scrapbook. For some reason, I kept everything about Pikeville College during my years here. And we went on to win the playoffs. We were the first team to represent this school in the national tournament in Kansas City. I did not get to play because they couldn't get my ankle well in time. That's a big disappointment. And over the years, I've looked back at that score because we lost that game to a team from Arkansas. We lost it by 3 points. Now, I've convinced myself over the years I could have made the difference. Now, also, my other disappointment was again with Georgetown College. It was my senior year. We were again in the finals with them, and we were at Transylvania University. And I'd had a big game the night before. We went into the finals. I got up the next morning, and for some reason, they said I had got blood poisoning, and my face swelled, and I was not able to play in that game. We lost on a last-second shot, 72-70. So those are hard things for me to look at. But I had a lot of fun here on the athletic teams. I played baseball here. I turned down a contract with the Cincinnati Reds back in 1960 because I wanted to finish school. But you got to remember, they didn't pay what they pay today. The other good memory I've got here was when I was a senior. I walked out of the cafeteria about a month before graduation. And Dr. A.A. Page was president. He was standing there with his wife. He always came up to eat after church. He said to me, "I want to speak to you when you come finish eating." And I came out and I'm wondering all the time, what have I done? He said, "I want to compliment you on your athletic career here, but I mostly want to compliment the way you've conducted yourself here as a student." And he said, "I'd like to give you a suit." So he took me to his home, and took me in his home, and he had a rack of about 30 or 35 suits with the tag still on. And he said, every place I go around the state and around the nation, talking at Pikeville College, he said, some group, some individual, somebody gives me a suit. So you just go through there and pick out the one you want. So I did. Now, this memories I've had here have been great. They still with me today, but the greatest memory and the best memory I've got from being here was the education I got. It served as a stepping stone to where I wanted to go. I wanted to be a high school principal. And when I got my degree, I got a job in the Johnson County school system, and I took a job as a coach and teacher, even though I really didn't want to coach, because I was working on my master's and stuff, principalships, piecemeal every time I could get a class. And when consolidation took place in that county, they said, we want you to stay in one of the schools because we don't have enough qualified personnel. And then I went back to Moorhead to spend 2 years where I got all the rest of the schooling I needed. So everything seemed to fall in place for me after that. I've had a lot of honors and a lot of recognition at Johnson Central High School. Most of it because I had a tremendous faculty, a lot of support staff, a real good student body, and an excellent community to work in. But all the things that have gone on in my life, I never dreamed I'd be in a Hall of Fame at Pikeville College. I never thought I'd be in one, let alone two. I was here on the 100th anniversary of this school, and I was inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame. It was the first Hall of Fame at this school. Now, to come back 25 years later and be inducted in this Distinguished Educators Group and be with all these people is a tremendous honor for me. And to be honest, it's probably the most important thing that I will treasure from all my years in the school business. I'm deeply honored, I'm humble, and I'm appreciative of all the things about this Hall of Fame. And I want to thank Dr. Hurley, Governor Patton, and I want to thank the committee that selected me, because it is truly a great honor for me. But I would be remiss if I didn't speak up and thank this university and the late Paul Butcher for giving my brother a scholarship here in baseball. He had no way to go to school without that scholarship. He went on to graduate from here, met his wife, who was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania here. He ended up settling in New Jersey. He retired as a school principal, and his wife is an elementary teacher. I have another brother that came out of a small coal camp with no hope to go to college. He is a graduate of the University of Mississippi. He too got an athletic scholarship there. After graduation, he settled in New Jersey, and he retired 3 years ago as a high school principal, and his wife as a high school teacher. Tonight, my wife is here, and I'd like to recognize her and both my daughters. My wife retired after 30 years as a special education teacher in the Johnson County school system. My daughter Paula was a high school English teacher, a librarian, and now she works in the central office of the Fayette County school system in Lexington. My daughter Sherry broke the mold. She didn't go into education. She is, after graduation, she became a dietitian. She works at the Kentucky Clinic at the University of Kentucky, where she is specialized as a diabetic dietitian. Also, my sister and niece are here tonight. I'd like to recognize them, and my neighbors are here. I'd like to recognize them. And lastly, in closing, I want to thank my Lord and Savior for all the blessings that He bestowed on my family and myself. Thank you.
Kathy Spears is a retired teacher and an adjunct professor at the University of Pikeville. She received her rank 1 in secondary education with English emphasis and a Master of Arts degree in education with an emphasis in English from Moorhead State University. She received a bachelor's degree in education with an English major and a math minor from Pikeville College. Kathy began her teaching career at Millard High School and served as drama coach as well. Later, she went to East Ridge High School, where she taught English in the 10th and 12th grade and provided in-service programs on reading strategies and was the chairman of the English department. She is an active member of the Mayflower Unity Baptist Church and the National Teachers Association. Among the many awards that she has received, it is the Rediford Dameron Award in Secondary Education that she received from Pikeville College that means so much to her, and she was named a Walmart teacher in 2006. The University of Kentucky recognized her as a teacher who made a difference in 2009. Kathy contributed to education in Appalachia with the Moorhead State Writing Project in 1996 and was a presenter at the Kentucky Teaching and Learning Conference. She served as drama coach for 12 years at 2 high schools and was also on the committee to establish the Demand Writing Program. Kathy and her husband Gary have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Kathy Spears.
I'd like to thank the University of Pikeville for this awesome award. I'm deeply honored and deeply humbled for it. But I need to look back to and thank Pikeville College and all the wonderful teachers who prepared me for this night.
Roger Wagner dedicated his life's work to improving the lives of children in Kentucky, specifically in Pike County, with education. He believes that teaching and learning are the cornerstones of any school system, and with a major emphasis being placed on the success of its students. He spent 43 years as an educator in the Pike County school system. He earned a degree from Pikeville College and began teaching at Johns Creek High School. Later, he earned additional degrees from Moorhead State University. He served as an assistant principal and later as principal at Johns Creek High School. His role in education in Pike County has been honored and recognized many times. His unprecedented accomplishments as a principal allowed him to distinguish himself and to become principal of the Pike County School System in 2006. With his great leadership and integrity, Mr. Wagner served Pike County schools and retired in 2013. He now enjoys spending time with his 2 daughters, who are here this evening, and his 2 grandchildren. Roger Wagner.
Good evening. Let me say that after 43 years, actually, it's just been over a year since I've retired, and I constantly run it into people saying, "What are you doing? You miss this or miss that, or what are you into?" with the expectation that I should be doing something. And so jokingly, I usually say, they say, "Don't you miss being in education?" And I says, "You know, it bothered me for about a week." But seriously, certainly I do miss it. And Paul's story, we've all got our stories about Pikeville College. And let me just take a brief moment and tell you what Pikeville College meant to me. certainly over 43 years, I could have a lot of stories and tell a lot of stuff. But I was one of 8 kids born in the head of Buffalo Creek in Pike County in 1966. And to go to school financially was going to be very challenging. And if it had not been for Pikeville College being here, certainly my life would have been a lot different. And I remember going to Pikeville College, and I'll call it that, and then we'll show respect to the university here a little later. But I had a friend on the board at that time, it became a friend, Jarrett Wood. I don't know, some of you may remember him. He was on the board of directors here at Pikeville College. He was over at Kentucky Power, and he singled me out to offer me a job as a night dispatcher at the power company, which was, by the way, a fantastic job. And it probably served 2 purposes. It helped me financially, and then by it being at night, it probably kept me out of trouble. So I was able to continue on and finish here at Pikeville College. And so as I go on and I look back, I would like to say that I certainly appreciate the committee. I can call James, the president James. James worked for me, and we certainly appreciate Dr. Hurley. Terry, I think Terry was a graduate of Johns Creek High School, and certainly, Governor, we appreciate you. But the 43 years we served, you know, the one thing that we look back on is we hope we made a difference. And I love Pike County, and I hope we made a difference in our kids. And I have 2 daughters, I just have 2 actually, with me tonight. And girls, you want to stand up? Catherine and Rachel. And certainly we appreciate them being here. And again, let me say, we're just so excited about the growth and the ongoing here with the University of Pikeville. We certainly wish them well. We're going to be a supporter of that. And God bless. Thank you.
Let's give one more round of applause to the inductees this evening. We thank them for their service and the contributions they've made to education, and we also congratulate our 2 new distinguished professors at the University of Pikeville. I'd now like to introduce Terry Dodson, who's the chairman of the Board of Trustees at the University of Pikeville. Mr. Dodson.
You know, one of the wonderful things about getting to close out these things every year is I get to follow great speakers who normally have said everything I was going to say before I got up here. A couple presidents or 3, and 2 or 3 superintendents, and a governor or so, and then they say, go up here and close it out and say something really good. You know, as I look here, I've been at this college so long, I think I knew Dr. Condit. He was, there's people on this stage that have touched me and touched my life. And I tell people all the time, we all, you know, there's someone once said, I tried to remember who made this quote, that we all stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. And every year when I'm here, I think about the people's lives that they touch. And I want to tell you a story that makes me remember that. When I was a senior at the University of Pikeville, which was then Pikeville College, in the back part of where now it used to be the old chapel, that was the music department, all 3 floors. And I was down there one night taking a strings class under a guy named Bill McLeod, and we got to talking about that. Bill worked a lot. He was up here early in the morning, and you'd always see him going around campus, swinging his arms, always had a smile on his face, always happy. And he was always here late. And I told him, I said, Bill, I had no idea what he made at the time, but I said, you know, as hard as you work, and as many hours as you put in up here, if you would take that amount of time and dedicate it to business or something in life that would make you successful, Just think of what you might have. And he said, oh, Terry, you missed the point. He said, do you realize that I've been teaching all these years and how many young people's lives that I've touched and how many people that those people will touch and how many things that those people will do that may make a difference in someone else's life? And the things that will go on in those people's lives and those people's lives and their children's lives and all the things that those people can do to make things better for people, because I'm a teacher. I've told that story many, many times, but it made a difference in my life. It made a difference in some of the things that I believed in, and it made a difference in some of the things that I chose to do later that I hope have made a difference in somebody's life. And each time, I hope Bill McLeod knows that he's touching people. Teachers touch people. The things we do here tonight to honor these people is extremely important. I never knew until tonight how bad Georgetown would do to win a ball game when giving someone blood poisoning. I didn't know they'd go that far. I tell this story sometimes, and I like to tell the story about, it reminds me a lot of people in education. A mother one morning hollowed upstairs and said, "Get up, Johnny, it's time to go to school." And there was no sound. And she spoke once again, a little louder, "Johnny, get up, it's time to go to school." And there was no sound. So she walked up to the top of the steps, and there was Johnny with the cover kind of pulled over his head, and she said, "Johnny, get up. It's time to go to school." He said, "Mother, I'm not going back to that school anymore. Every kid in that school hates me. I'm not going back to that school." He said, "Oh, Johnny, that's serious. Get up. It's time to go to school. You got to go to school. Get up, go to school." I said, "Mom, I'm not going. Every teacher in that school hates me." And he said, "Mom, just give me one good reason why I should get out of bed and go to school." He said, "I'll give you two. You're 45 years old and you're the principal." That's from a wonderful little book I like to read, because even eagles need a push sometimes. That's the opening story. You know, we're blessed. This college, this university continues to bless people. As I tell the story many, many times, I think when Dr. Condit was standing back here on the hill and he looked out over this valley, can you think of the imagination he had to build what they built and what they started here? And what, you know, Jackson Hall told me today, he said, "Look what's happened around here since we've been built. Look what's happened in the years since you were here and how." But it was on the vision and the goals and the ideas and the shoulders of those people and those educators that came before us. Our job is to leave it a better place than we found it for the people that come after us. There's a reception later tonight. God bless you, and God bless this university and the things it does for this region. Thank you. Good night.